Just as you think you've mastered the organic rhythm of the street, the city hits you with an absolute showstopper. In suburban America, a railroad crossing is an infrastructure event that happens out in industrial zones or open highway country. You see flashing red lights half a mile away, wide automated barriers drop across an empty four-lane road, and you sit in your air-conditioned car listening to a podcast, waiting for a 400-car freight train carrying coal across state lines. In urban Vietnam, the train does not run outside the city. The train slices straight through the living room of the metropolis. Suddenly, a piercing, high-pitched mechanical bell starts firing like an automatic alarm. Kang! 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 Instantly, the flowing river of 2 million motorbikes grinds to a dead collective halt. Two workers wearing fluorescent orange vests push manual steel barrier gates across the narrow tarmac. There are no high-tech laser sensors. There are no massive concrete barriers. Just two human beings manually swinging a couple of rusted metal fences on tiny wheels to hold back a restless army of 500 idling motorbikes. You pull the brake lever, drop your left foot onto the hot pavement, and look around. Within 20 seconds, a dense, pressurized gridlock forms behind you. Nobody turns their engines off. The collective rumble of 500 small engines vibrate through your sneakers, creating a low-frequency hum that shakes your chest. You are now trapped in a forced pause. In the West, being stuck at a railroad crossing is an infuriating waste of productivity that drives commuters into road rage. In Vietnam, it's an impromptu, open-air cultural intermission. The last caboose rattles through. The train disappears down the concrete canyon of buildings. Before the orange-vested guard has even pushed the barrier gate all the way back to the curb, the collective psychology of the intersection shifts instantly from total stillness to competitive launch mode. Engines roar, fingers tighten on the throttles, helmets nod forward. The moment there is a 2-foot gap in the gate, the dam breaks. Two massive waves of motorbikes from opposite sides of the tracks surge forward simultaneously, like cavalry charging into battle. To an outsider, this looks like an imminent mass casualty collision. 500 machines heading directly at each other across an uneven set of iron tracks. Yet, as the tires bump over the metal rails, thump, 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 the magic of decentralized spatial awareness takes over. Nobody breaks hard, nobody honks in anger. The two opposing streams of traffic simply weave between each other like fingers interlocking on two hands. Millimeter by millimeter, scooter handlebars slide past each other with effortless elegance. Within 4 seconds, the gridlock dissolves completely, the road clears, and the city returns to its smooth, fluid velocity as if that massive train had never existed. Instead of heading straight back to my tube house, I take a detour. I decide to just cruise. In America, driving without a destination is called aimless wandering and burns expensive gasoline on sterile highways. In Vietnam, cruising on a scooter, what we call roam the streets, is a spiritual therapy session for the senses. When you drive a car, you are separated from the city by 3 layers of steel, soundproof glass, and an air conditioning filter. You are watching the city on a television screen. When you ride a motorbike at 20 miles an hour through these streets, you are entirely submerged inside the city's bloodstream. Every 50 yards, your senses are bombarded with a new chapter of human life. First, you smell the intoxicating sweetness of sweet corn and grilled pork patties smoking over real charcoal at a street corner. 5 seconds later, you catch the pungent, earthy whiff of fresh herbs from a local herb stall. Then, the floral aroma of a mobile flower cart pedaled by a vendor wearing a conical hat loaded with a mountain of fresh lotus blossoms and white chrysanthemums. Look at the cargo transport happening right next to me. I pull up beside a guy on an old Honda Wave who is casually transporting a full-size commercial double-door refrigerator on his back seat, secured by two fraying rubber bungee cords and pure mental confidence. Behind him, another commuter is balancing three giant cages filled with ornamental singing birds, whistling happily along with the city traffic. On the sidewalks, life unfolds without shame or secrecy. Barbers set up mirrors on old brick walls and cut hair in the open breeze. Groups of men sit at tiny tea stalls, smoking bamboo water pipes that make a bubbling roar like a small combustion engine, laughing loudly over 5-cent cups of iced green tea. It is raw, it is unapologetic, it is a world where the private sphere and the public sphere have completely fused into one continuous living tapestry. If you wake up at 6 in the morning in suburban America, the world gives you a gentle, polite head start. Maybe a distant bird chirps, maybe the mechanical hum of your central AC clicks on. The neighborhood is wrapped in a pristine, climate-controlled silence where everyone respects personal boundaries. In Vietnam, morning doesn't knock on your door. It kicks the door open, walks straight into your bedroom, and hands you a sensory overload before your brain even registers your own name. By 5:30 a.m., our alarm clock isn't a soft smartphone chime. It is a 4-layered acoustic orchestra designed to test your will to live. First, the rooftop roosters, who clearly don't understand time zones, start screaming at the sky. Next comes the low, metallic clinking of rolling steel gates echoing down the alleyway as 50 different neighbors unlock their homes simultaneously. Then, the rhythmic thump of chopping knives hitting heavy wooden cutting boards from the noodle stall downstairs, followed by the distant, echoing broadcast of the neighborhood loudspeaker reminding everyone that life is happening right now, whether you are ready or not. You don't gradually wake up here, you are drafted into reality. Hello everyone, you've just watched a video where I share a glimpse into my life, giving you a feel for what it's like. A new day begins in a country with a glorious history, having endured wars against French colonialism and American imperialism. I step into the bathroom. To an outsider, brushing teeth is just dental hygiene. But in an Asian household, the morning routine carries a dual existence, one foot in the physical grind and one foot in the spiritual realm. After washing the sleep off my face, I don't immediately grab my phone to check emails or doom scroll social media. Instead, I strike a wooden match. In almost every Vietnamese home, suspended high above the living space or nestled in a dedicated sanctuary room, sits the ancestral altar. This isn't abstract religion, it is lineage. In Western culture, you remember your ancestors on specific holidays or through dusty photo albums in the attic. In Vietnam, our ancestors are active roommates. They live right above our eye level, and every morning begins with a formal check-in. I light 3 sticks of agarwood incense. The scent is heavy, earthy, and immediately cuts through the morning humidity. As the thin ribbon of white smoke curls toward the ceiling, I bow 3 times. It's an unspoken dialogue. You aren't necessarily asking for a winning lottery ticket, you're simply acknowledging continuity. You stand there in your morning shorts, hands clasped, saying, I am here. The lineage is moving forward. Keep the house safe today. There is something deeply grounding about starting your day by answering to the people whose DNA built your bones, standing beneath their black and white portraits, while the rest of the modern city begins to roar outside. Next, I climb to the highest point of the house, the rooftop. To understand urban Vietnam, you have to understand vertical living. Because land is precious, our houses are tall, narrow tube houses, stacked 3 to 5 stories high. The ground floor is for business or parking motorbikes. The middle floors are for sleep. But the rooftop is our private sky sanctuary. Up here, 30 feet above the pavement, there is an entire hidden ecosystem. While Western suburban homes boast sprawling green lawns and mechanical electric dryers hidden in basements, we cultivate our oxygen in ceramic pots and harness the raw power of the tropical sun. I tend to my small rooftop garden. In the middle of a concrete jungle, we grow miniature fruit trees, flowering orchids, and resilient succulents that bake under 95-degree heat and somehow thrive. It's daily therapy, trimming dead leaves, checking the soil, watching a green shoot fight its way through city smog. And then comes the universal ritual of every Asian household, laundry. We don't use 3,000-watt electric tumble dryers that shrink your clothes and inflate your power bill. That is considered almost an insult to nature. Instead, you grab wet laundry. Give each shirt a violent, satisfying whip in the air to snap out the wrinkles whack and hang it under the blazing sun. There is a precise science to spacing out each hanger so the humid breeze can flow through. Within 3 hours, the sun bakes those clothes so dry they smell like pure UV radiation and summer heat. It's sustainable, it's intense, and it's the rhythm millions of people repeat every single morning across this skyline. In America, going to the grocery store is a scheduled road trip in a giant SUV. In Vietnam, it's a high-speed, 3-minute tactical mission on a 125cc scooter. You maneuver through 4 tight intersections, dive down a subterranean parking ramp, tap a digital smart card in 1.2 seconds, and step directly onto the ascending rolling walkway. The second the sliding glass doors part, a blast of 68-degree air conditioning hits your face and you enter what I can only describe as a modern Asian sensory wonderland. Stepping into a Vietnamese supermarket isn't just about buying groceries, it's an emotional reset. Outside, it's 95 degrees with 80% humidity. The second those automatic sliding doors open, a wall of pure, freezing air conditioning hits you like a personal blessing. I grab a basket. In America, you get shopping carts the size of small pickup trucks because people buy enough food to survive a nuclear winter. Here, our carts are compact. We don't shop for the month, we shop for the next 48 hours. Freshness isn't a preference, it's an obsession. Entering a Vietnamese supermarket is a complete psychological reset compared to the West. In America, grocery shopping is built on the philosophy of the bunker. You drive a massive SUV, push a shopping cart the size of a bathtub, and buy industrial-sized bulk packs of food to stash in a garage freezer for the next 4 weeks. Here, nobody shops like the apocalypse is coming tomorrow. We shop for the next 24 to 48 hours. The shopping carts are tiny because we don't believe in freezing food until it loses its soul. If an ingredient wasn't made, baked, or harvested recently, It simply doesn't belong in our kitchen. But the real culture shock happens when you look at what people prioritize in a Western store. Aisles are dominated by sterile diet products, low fat labels, and 30 brands of sliced sandwich bread. In a Vietnamese supermarket, the priorities are completely inverted. The coffee and tea sections don't sell weak decaf blends, they sell pure, dark Robusta designed to kickstart your entire nervous system. Condensed milk isn't a rare baking item hidden in a dusty corner, it sits front and center as an essential daily food group. The snack aisles aren't just plain salted potato chips, but intense explosions of dry spices, seaweed, and savory dry meat. Even the way we pick up everyday items is different. People don't look for polished, factory perfect packaging. We touch, we inspect, we feel the weight, and we look for authenticity over sterile perfection. And the most shocking part to any foreigner? The checkout. Westerners are used to pulling out thick leather wallets, swiping plastic cards, and signing paper receipts. Here, nobody touches cash or cards anymore. The cashier scans the last item. A dynamic QR code pops up on a tiny screen. You aim your phone from 2 feet away, chime, and the payment clears instantly across banking systems with zero fees. You walk out with a basket full of fresh, vibrant food that costs less than a single fast food meal in New York, loaded onto the hooks of a 125cc scooter, and ride home. It's fast, it's intensely practical, and it makes Western hyper-convenience look surprisingly outdated. Around 5 p.m., the tropical heat began to cool, and I pulled over at a tiny roadside taco joint tucked between two French colonial houses. In the US, street tacos are an institution, but seeing them reimagined on the streets of Vietnam is a whole different vibe. There's no fancy food truck or overpriced hipster menu. Just a lone vendor with a sizzling flat-top grill right on the sidewalk. For 50,000 dong, literally $2 American, you get a masterpiece. A tortilla, crisped directly over open heat until golden, packed with marinated smoky pork, sharp pickled onions, fresh cilantro, and a drizzle of fiery chili mayo that carries a serious kick. As the vendor wrapped the piping hot taco in thick aluminum foil, I felt the heat radiating through the paper bag. It smelled incredible. But just as I handed him the $2 bill, he leaned in closer over the sizzling grill, lowered his voice, and whispered, "Take the south gate when you enter the hospital. Someone has been waiting near the ER all afternoon." I froze, clutched the warm foil package, and jumped back on my scooter, speeding toward the hospital gates before the sun completely vanished. By late afternoon, I grabbed a hot taco and rode straight to the hospital gates. My girlfriend is an ER nurse, and her shift was just starting. She ran down to the front entrance in her scrubs to grab the food. She only had 2 minutes before reporting to the trauma unit. Public hospital nurses here work brutal 12-hour shifts, handling non-stop emergencies for a paycheck that barely covers the cost of living. She gave me a quick, tired smile, said she'd be assisting in the surgery wing tonight, and rushed back inside. But as she walked away, my phone buzzed with another text from that unknown number. The surgery wing connects to the old service elevator. Don't let her go to floor 4 alone. By 10:30 p.m., the city quieted down, but hospital nights are a completely different beast. Knowing she hadn't eaten since afternoon, I stopped by a street cart for a hot, crispy banh mi with pork and pate to bring up to her. I pulled into the hospital's underground parking lot. At night, this concrete basement feels dead silent, with flickering fluorescent tubes casting long, distorted shadows across rows of empty ambulances and parked scooters. I locked my bike, grabbed the warm bag of bread, and walked straight toward the central elevator bank leading up to the surgical wing. I pressed the button for floor 4, the operating department. The heavy steel door slid shut with a low groan. As the elevator climbed, level 2, level 3, the lights suddenly flickered and buzzed. The temperature inside dropped instantly, cold enough that my breath turned into faint mist. The elevator dinged and the doors parted onto the sterile, silent hallway of the surgery floor. Red illuminated signs read, "Operating room in progress." I walked down the deserted tiled corridor, clutching the warm banh mi through the narrow observation window of OR 3. I saw the surgical team huddled around the table. My girlfriend was standing there in her blue surgical gown, holding the instrument tray, but standing directly behind her, looking through the glass straight at me, was the man with the carpenter's ruler, tapping his knuckles against the window. 3 taps, a pause, then 3 more taps.
Mấy giờ về? Thế thì anh về trước. Chú ơi, hết bao tiền đi.
Back home, the door is locked, and the city's noise finally fades away. A long, exhausting day is finally over. Time to turn off the lights, get some rest, and recharge the batteries. Tomorrow is another fresh start with a brand new day ahead. Good night, and see you guys tomorrow.